In quick succession, birds have fallen out of the sky in Louisiana and now in Sweden. Now, the birds in the United States didn't seem to show any abnormal affliction. However, those in Sweden, it is concluded that they have been hit with some blunt object, perhaps maybe a hail or something like that. Although when they fall, probably that also could cause the bruising. I don't know. But the question I have to ask is that why are these birds suffering like this? Is it that these birds are evil? Can birds be evil? Well, many individuals seem to suggest that butterflies and birds are brilliant. They fly south in the winter and they come back up in the spring and so on. In fall, they fly down south and in the spring they come back up north. They know when to fly down and so on. But from my theological understanding and so forth, I will say that that is not true. Birds do not think, or animals do not think. Many of them are operating on instinct. Now, what I believe happened with the butterflies and birds, angels come and create a situation, and they probably recognize the angels, and they just coax them up into the air, create a stream of wind, and take them down to Mexico or wherever they have to go. Same thing with birds. Now, I get this illustration from the ark. Remember the story of the ark? Animals left the wild and in twos they were going into the ark, and some animals didn't make it in because God chose not to let them go in, and He did not inspire them to go in. So I extrapolate them to say that we can't see it, but God leads these birds and these animals into safety. Some people say that dogs know or animals know when it's going to be an earthquake or some natural disaster, and they respond in a way. But humans can't interpret the behavior to know that this is what. And I'm sure that this God who's make the dogs behave in such a way, because it's only who will protect them except God, because He doesn't want them to be extinct. They have a role in life here. And so, if a bird that should have, or a butterfly that should have flew down south, stayed up north, then they're not following God's guidance, and they expose themselves to danger, just like us as human beings. He wants to guide us on a daily basis, but if we choose our own way, then we have some problems. And as this new year has just began, there's a poem about here at the gate of this new year. Join with the gentleman that has the lantern so you could see where you're going. I think that's alluding to God. And so we need to put our hands in God's hands so He can lead us. Although we have sense and we could think and reason and so on, still there are some things that we don't understand or we don't even recognize, and He will guide you into safety. And so these birds in Louisiana and in Sweden should not have been in this region at this point, and they should have been south. These birds should have been in South America. European birds should have been in Africa or Asia, wherever that is warm. And so, what do you think? Do you think that these birds are evil because they did not follow God's leading to go south, either to South America or to Africa or to Asia or to the tropics, sort of, or were they stupid or something to stay up in the winter, etc. The story is told. I heard a story a long time ago, and I'm not preaching, so I could use a story that might never be true. There was a sparrow who had not gone south during the winter up in Canada, and so he froze and he fell down, almost to die. And up comes some animals, some cows or moose or whatever, and defecated on him, and the warmth, thawed out the cold, and he felt good again. He got up on some tree and started to whistle, and then something come and eat him. He should have take off as soon as he was thawed out and felt good. He should have just take off and go south, but he just rejoicing. Oh yes, something came and ate him. And then there's another story of geese that was flying from maybe way up north in Canada and passing maybe down in Ontario, and he saw down a farm poultry farm and he saw feed and so on. So he came down, ate, and he put on a whole bunch of weight, you know. So when the other birds, the last birds were squeaking past and across, he ran off as to take off, but he was too heavy so he couldn't go. And so he had to stay in the winter. I don't know if he died or whatever. And it's just like many of us, you know, life is so good and so sweet that we gorge ourselves to death. We become so obese in our psyche that when lean times come or we have to shift zones, we can't go because we've become, you know, psychologically obese. We can't run, we can't jump, we can't do nothing. We just stay right there and die. So I hope that you could give me a little insight whether you think that birds are evil or they were stupid or whatever.